Shadow of the Eagle back here with Alcaniz 1809 from Alea Spanish Wargaming Magazine. Had some action here. This is what I recall. Although I will try to recall here. So the 13th. Oh, I wish I could figure out that term. Wish I could figure out that Spanish term. If I remember, I will actually search for a translation. Darn, I don't see one. Oh, I'm going to talk about the cavalry action right there. Where? I guess I'll have to do some. Yeah, I guess I'll have to do some digging on my own to figure out this term, this abbreviation. But the French cavalry here, which is heavy cavalry, charged the Spanish cavalry here, the Santiago's cavalry, and what happened is they pushed Spanish cavalry back 2 hexes, 1, 2, and then I'm trying to remember. Then they failed a morale check. Yes, they failed a morale check, I think. The D marker, this is from the game. This is from the counter mix. D on one side in this case, and the square indicator on the other side. But the D, being English speaker, I might think this is disordered or disorganized or disrupted or something. It's not. It's routed. D is for the Spanish word for routed. So this is the route marker that I place on the Spanish cavalry for failing that morale check after being pushed back 2 hexes. Then, very important, and this definitely did not get, I know this did not get on film, when cavalry successfully dislodges a defender, which is great. All of this I like a lot. It's not especially complicated or it's not even really that involved. But this is what you do. So after a cavalry charge dislodges a defender, you roll on a table which is called the cavalry control table. There are some modifiers possibly. But you're rolling against the morale of the cavalry. Let me make sure I got that right. So yeah, I think you're rolling against the morale. Yeah, the morale grade of your cavalry, and you're going to get either controlled or uncontrolled as a result. Controlled gives you a bunch of choices about whether you want to just stay put or whether you want to move again with the option of initiating another shock attack or charge against any enemy unit, etc., etc., etc. That's if you roll controlled. I rolled uncontrolled. So in other words, when the French cavalry was back here, after dislodging the Spanish cavalry and the Spanish cavalry came, oh, and by the way, when they got the routed result, I just put the routed marker on there. I didn't see that I do anything at this point. It's not... Oh. Oops. That's wrong. I guess I was supposed to immediately get pushed back another couple of hexes. Oh. You know what, I'm not going to change things now, but alright. I just looked down, route effects, movement, immediately retreat 2 hexes. That is what happened. I rolled on the morale table, and I think I rolled a 1. And then I think there was a Was there a modifier. Yeah, okay, that's why. Because they're E morale. Which, by the way, I might have read that wrong earlier. They're definitely E morale cavalry. E is there. That's the morale. It's a little. Well, if you look at it quickly, this is the organization or formation. This is not the morale grade. This is not morale grade C. This is morale grade E. Okay, so that's why. And then they rolled a 1. They rolled a 1. Yeah, so they were routed. So, oops, I was supposed to immediately go back 2 more hexes, and then you have more route movement every turn thereafter. Alright, never mind. Well, I wanted to show the results of this mechanic. So then my French cavalry up here, they roll on the cavalry control table, and I guess you'd call it fail. Because they wind up being uncontrolled, and as uncontrolled, they had to go forward. They are disorganized, and they must move and carry out a shock attack against an enemy unit closest to it within a 3-hex maximum range to its front facing. So that would take it down here forward to the same unit. This is another thing that I'm assuming. I'm assuming that when the cavalry is doing this, they completely ignore enemy zones of control. I think they just charge right through because this is to their front direction. Okay, so then they go forward and they do a shock attack. This was another question. Is it another cavalry attack with the double strength, or is it just a shock attack? I went ahead and went with it's just a shock attack, so now it's at 2-to-1 instead of the earlier 4-to-1. Then I know I got the result of this second shock attack is that it was a if you want to call it an exchange. Both sides took a point of strength loss. So this is so I put a 1 marker loss marker underneath the French. They're normally strength 4, now they're 3. And I didn't do anything extra. I just added the loss to Santiago's cavalry here. So they have 1 loss marker underneath them. They start at strength 2, so now they're down to 1, and that's where I left it right there. That is the end of the... Oh, and by the way, this can keep going. If your cavalry keeps successfully pushing back defenders and failing on the control table, you can... This is the mechanic, and I like it a lot. This is how you can go charging right off the map, and if you do go off the map, you're removed from the game. So it's very easy to understand the way this is designed. It's very easy to understand how your cavalry can have uncontrolled success or unplanned success, and just keep charging and charging right off the map and away from the battle, and you've lost them for game purposes. So yeah, this is uncontrolled versus controlled cavalry. I think maybe one thing is to talk about the modifiers for that. That's probably something to note. So on the cavalry control table, we've got where are my tables? There they are. Got you do have a leader morale factor if it's in the same hex. I'm not sure they had morale factors in this design at this early point. I think they added, maybe they added a leader morale factor later, because the leaders in Bailen look different than the leaders here. You have +1 if the attack was a charge. That's significant, but that's in your favor. +1 is a benefit to staying controlled. Then you have -2 for British cavalry and -1 for Spanish, French, or French allies, Portuguese, or KGL cavalry. I think that's the modifier I had. Oh yeah, modifiers cancel each other out. +1 for the charge, -1 for being French cavalry. So first action here, first real losses. And this is the end of the French shock.